It was 6:12 a.m. when my alarm screamed through the one-bedroom apartment I could barely afford. My son, Noah, stirred on the couch he called a bed. He was 6, with soft brown curls and a sleepy face that always smiled at me even when the world didn't. I kissed his forehead, whispered, "I'll bring donuts tonight," and rushed out, a cold protein bar in hand. Double shifts at the diner weren't glamorous, but they kept the lights on. I wiped tables from sunrise to close, served coffee to people who barely looked me in the eye, then ran across town to a second job at a gas station where the manager, Tom, thought hitting on single moms was part of the training program. I stayed anyway, because every dollar mattered. Every tip was a book bag for Noah. Every hour spent standing was one he didn't have to. And through all of this, my parents knew. They knew how hard I worked. They knew I didn't go out, didn't buy clothes, didn't take breaks. But what they didn't know or didn't care about was how much it hurt when they'd praise my sister Jasmine like she was royalty, while I was the maid who was lucky to be in the room. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments, from where are you watching this video? Jasmine had never worked a day in her life. She had a resting headache and travel anxiety, which conveniently disappeared whenever a luxury vacation was on the table. She posted spa selfies from Dubai and Madrid like they were grocery runs. My parents applauded every post, every fake business she claimed to launch, every lie wrapped in a bow of filters and hashtags. "Look at your sister," my mom would say, "living the life you could have had if you weren't so dramatic." Dramatic was what they called me when I said I couldn't afford daycare. Dramatic was refusing to move back into their house when they offered the basement with mold and no privacy. Dramatic was not signing away my savings to fund Jasmine's creative ventures like I was some trust fund donor. One Tuesday, after I'd worked 36 hours in 3 days, I returned home to find my parking space empty. My heart plummeted. I ran inside, called the cops, and reported the car stolen. They said it wasn't. They said it had been sold legally, that someone with my name and my signature had transferred the title. I was frozen. I called my parents. My dad answered, "Oh, that. We needed to help Jasmine book her Spain trip. She's been stressed lately." My breath caught. "You sold my car?" "You barely used it. You're always walking anyway." My mom chimed in from the background. "You should be grateful we even let you keep the apartment. Honestly, you should say thank you." Then the text came. From my mom. No emojis, no apology. "Be grateful we let you walk." I stared at the message for 5 full minutes. My legs were still sore from standing all day, and now I was supposed to be grateful for the chance to walk 12 blocks home in the rain. I wanted to scream. But Noah was asleep, and I had to be quiet. I had to be still. But something broke in me that night. And when I looked out at the empty parking space again, all I saw was possibility. They thought I would beg. They didn't know they had just lit the match. I didn't reply to their text, not because I didn't have words, but because I had too many, and none of them would have landed the way I needed them to. Instead, I took a deep breath and stared at Noah sleeping peacefully on the couch. He deserved better than a mother spiraling. So I walked to my dresser, pulled out the only thing that still gave me clarity, my little notebook labeled Someday. It wasn't filled with revenge plans. It was filled with numbers, calculations, job applications I never had time to finish, skills I wanted to learn, community programs, notes about childcare alternatives, scholarship deadlines. I'd written every possible route out of hell, and now I was going to pick one and run with it. I started small, called the local trade school the next morning. They had a weekend certification program in appliance repair, 3 months long, flexible hours. Heavy demand in the area. I signed up. At the same time, I went to work earlier, stayed later. I started walking dogs during my breaks, babysitting during night shifts. I did everything short of selling my blood, though the thought crossed my mind. What my parents never understood was that while Jasmine depended on them, I had already survived without them for years. Now I just needed to level up, quietly. 3 weeks later, I got a knock on my door. It was my landlord. "Your rent's late," he said flatly. "I just need 3 more days." No, he cut me off. "You're good. Someone already paid it." I blinked. "What?" He handed me the receipt. Paid in full. 3 months ahead. I checked the name. Cole Henderson. I hadn't heard that name in 6 years. Cole had been my high school boyfriend, the one I broke up with when I got pregnant and had no support. He'd moved away. We hadn't spoken since. I hadn't told anyone about Noah's father, not even Noah. I called the number on the receipt, hands shaking. A man answered. Leah? Cole? There was a long silence, then he exhaled. I didn't know, he said, about Noah. I had no idea. But your mom, she posted about Jasmine's trip and called you a leech in the comments. I got curious, I asked around. When I found out what they did to you, my knees buckled and I sat down on the floor. I'm not asking for anything, he continued. Just, if you need help, let me, for him. I didn't have words. I cried instead, and for the first time in years, it wasn't the hopeless kind. With Cole helping quietly, I finished the program faster. Within 2 months, I had a part-time apprenticeship at a local HVAC company. They didn't care about my degree. They cared that I showed up early, stayed late, and could carry my own weight. I made more money in 2 weeks there than I did in 2 months at the diner. I paid off my debts, got Noah a real bed, moved us into a better place with a backyard, bought a used car in my name this time, locked down tighter than Fort Knox. I started picking up freelance work fixing AC units and dryers. And I didn't tell a soul. Not until Jasmine posted a bikini photo from Spain with the caption, "Work hard, play harder, manifest it, babes." Underneath, my dad commented, "Proud of our princess." And my mom? She posted a picture of her toes in a hot tub with the caption, "Some people walk, others get flown first class by grateful daughters." I could have ignored it, but I didn't. Not this time. I mailed them something. Nothing fancy. No lawyer letters, no threats. Just a single photo of Noah standing next to our new car, grinning, holding a wrench, wearing a tiny repairman's jumpsuit. And a note. He doesn't need first class. He's building his own runway. I knew what was coming. The calls, the rage, the guilt-tripping. But I wasn't afraid. Because I still had one last thing to show them. And it would make them crawl. The voicemails came in waves. First from Mom. "You think that little photo stunt was cute? No one's impressed, Leah. You're still nothing without us." Then Dad. "You're lucky we didn't throw you and your brat out years ago. Ungrateful kids don't go far." And finally, Jasmine snickering in the background of a drunk group call. "Aw, did you buy him a costume? Let me know when he builds a jet engine, Supermom." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because something better was already in motion. The new landlord of their building, a young couple I'd met through one of my appliance repair gigs, had just hired me to renovate all their units. I got the job through sheer work ethic. But when they found out my last name, the woman squinted. "Wait, your parents are Steve and Marlene?" she said. I hesitated. "They're problematic tenants," she muttered. "Behind on repairs, always demanding rent extensions. Real entitled." I said nothing, just fixed their dishwasher, then the heater, then the busted AC, all while keeping my mouth shut. Until one day the woman walked in on me mid-repair and whispered, "You know they badmouthed you at our last tenant meeting? Called you a gold-digging single mom who never amounted to anything." That's when I smiled. And gave her my plan. See, my parents didn't know I was behind half the fixes in the building, that I'd earned the trust of the new landlords, that I now had access to their units' work logs, complaints, and, most importantly, the photos of exactly what they'd been neglecting: mold, rot, and unauthorized construction. I presented it all calmly, professionally in a packet labeled Unit 3B Risk Report. And just like that, they received a formal 30-day notice for non-compliance and tenant hostility. They showed up at my door a week later, fuming. "You did this," my mom hissed. "You think you're better than us because you fixed a few pipes?" "No," I said. "I'm better because I built my own floor while you were too busy worshiping your daughter's passport stamps." Dad stepped forward. "We raised you." "No," I corrected. "You raised Jasmine. You used me. Mom crossed her arms. This isn't over. But it was. For them. Because what they didn't know. I'd bought the next-door unit. And when I walked them out on the 29th day, Jasmine rolling her luggage while crying into her broken phone, I stood in the hallway with the new keys in my hand and said, "Be grateful I let you walk." They froze. Mom blinked. What? I turned the keys in my hand slowly. You said I should be grateful you let me walk when you sold my car, I said. Funny how life works. Jasmine's voice cracked. Where are we supposed to go? I don't know, I said. Spain? The elevator dinged, the doors slid open. And my parents, once the proud, smug rulers of my life, walked in with their heads low and silence thick in the air. I stood still until the doors closed. And then I walked back to my new home where Noah was waiting with a drawing in his hands. It was of me, holding his hand in front of our apartment. Above us in crayon he had written, "Me and my mom, we walk together." No more begging, no more crawling. We were running now, on a road they'd never catch up with. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.